Welcome back to another episode of Consciously Clueless. You're here because you want to learn about how to live a healthier life, how to live more sustainably, how to take your everyday actions and make them work for you and the planet. Sometimes it might feel like you've got this figured out, and other times you probably feel lost. That's why I'm here. Together, we will learn how to live happier, healthier lives without the need to be perfect, and always allowing space for a little cluelessness on this journey to living a more conscious life. Today on the podcast, I talk to Maia Kiley. Maia is a licensed psychotherapist and certified ecotherapist. She incorporates the power of nature into sessions as a source of healing. Here we go. This podcast is supported by Who Gives a Crap. Who Gives a Crap is an eco-friendly toilet paper company that donates 50% of its profits to help ensure everyone has access to clean water and a toilet within our lifetime. Who Gives a Crap has donated almost $8 million to nonprofit organizations who help provide clean water and toilets all over the world. Who Gives a Crap is delivered straight to your door with carbon neutral delivery. I love that it comes that way. I don't have to think about it. It's an automatic subscription, and I want you to try it. You can check out Who Gives a Crap and get $10 off your first order over $54 with the code CARLY10. That's CARLY 10, or check out the link in the show notes. I like to put people on the spot when they come on the podcast and just say, where are you right now? If it was a spectrum from clueless to conscious, how are you feeling?
Yeah, of course, there is so much to know with what's going on in terms of a shift toward a culture that is healthier. But I feel pretty conscious, and there's pros and cons to that.
Can you say a little bit more about
I think it's tough when you are conscious of some of the pain and struggle that's going on in the level of that. Of course, it's also really nice when you're conscious because you're also aware of all the amazing people and organizations and groups that are doing beautiful work. So it's a mixed bag, but I think sometimes when you're really conscious on an emotional level of what's going on, it can be a lot to handle and to know how to manage in a society that sort of tends to numb out. So it's okay, where do you go to receive that? Yeah.
So you are an ecotherapist is one of the titles. And I would love to know a little bit more about what came first, right? Was the interest in the environment or the interest in psychology and therapy, or what came first there?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I'm a licensed therapist and got my ecotherapy certificate like midway through getting my master's in counseling. Basically, I grew up in a pretty, I guess you could say, like ahead of the times hippie family, because a lot of ahead of the times, or still back in that time. But basically, my mother was very conscious about what was going on. And when I was 12 years old, so I guess my brother was like 15, my parents were like, we're going to do an environmental experiment, just get rid of our car for a year. And we lived in the suburbs of Boston, and they still don't have a car. Like the
experiment really never ended for them.
The experiment never ended. And so I did grow up with an awareness of climate change, of the importance of taking action. Like that was always kind of part of my awareness.
Which is unfortunately not the norm.
Totally. And then with that, I also had I didn't have any words for it then, but I had a really spiritual connection with nature, like my first memories. Like I felt totally at one with nature. I remember and animals, and I remember just sitting and like way up in trees for a very long time for a child. Like I didn't feel like a sense of separation from like birds, trees, or I remember feeling like the excitement of like wind, like I loved wind and the feeling of like change. But that definitely shifted as I went through the educational system and everything. So, but my first experiences before I went through like a patriarchal education system. Before that, I felt a oneness with nature plus the consciousness of climate change. Yeah. So by the time I was in college, I studied environmental studies. And then I definitely felt like I didn't want to be like really academic about environmental
Mm.
work. So I had this like desire to just be like very like hands-on. So I worked
Mm-hmm.
with a few organic farms and just got to know their like culture of very like nature-based people and like small farmers.
Yeah.
And that definitely shaped a lot for me. I did like a permaculture design course. So that was like in my 20s. It was very like hands-on. I just wanted like grassroots. I want to see what's going on. And yeah, I'm trying to think. I did a little bit of activism in California. And then I went to school to be a therapist in my late 20s and was really fascinated by the personal transformation and healing journey. But I was really surprised when I was in grad school. I went to a wonderful graduate school, Pacifica Graduate Institute, that is more holistic, it's depth
Okay.
psychotherapy. Yeah, so it's really wonderful. But I still felt like I wanted more of the environmental action meeting
Mm.
the healing world. And I wasn't seeing that much. And it was so interesting because I would go to these like environmental activist meetings, and I won't like name any of the organizations, but it would be like talking over each other and not really, and being really angry, but not really hearing each other. And I would be like, wow, like we really need some just like communication skills here and inclusivity. And then I would go to like graduate school where people are like so mindful of
Right.
the way they're talking, but then nobody's talking really about climate change or the impact on their clients. So it's been my mission, and that's part of why I'm here, to just like bridge that conversation and be a therapist that's more active and talking about activism and what's happening ecologically. Yeah.
That's really, really beautiful. So basically, you saw a need, didn't see it being fulfilled, and so you did it yourself.
Yeah. I get, yes. And for my own personal desire to bring them together. Like it didn't feel right to be in the healing world and not bring in nature in that way.
So when people say, okay, ecotherapist, therapy for climate crisis, like I'm sure you've had people question what that even means or why it exists, is my guess. If there's people listening, okay, I get environmentalism, I get therapy. What does that look like together?
Totally, totally. Because it's still so niche that
Right.
yeah, people haven't heard of it. So basically ecotherapy is an umbrella term for any type of nature-based therapy and really bringing in nature as a source for healing. So many people like know about, let's say, equine therapy, like therapy with horses are very sensitive energetically and emotionally. So it's really helpful for people with anxiety or struggles to spend time with horses and the way horses respond to them. So that like equine therapy is considered ecotherapy.
Got
And
it.
so is like wilderness backpacking, which most people think of as like those treatment programs where they take people
Yeah.
out. That would be like ecotherapy. But to me, I just weave it into regular therapy sessions. And I see ecotherapy as just expanding our coping and support systems. So more traditional psychology has you look at what can I do for like my coping or self-care, or who can I go to? And so I see it as expanding instead of just going to other humans for support, which is great.
Mm,
But like expanding that, the idea of relationship to you can go to a tree or
yes.
a place that you love or an animal, and that can have just as much healing power. So that's how I define ecotherapy, as including nature as as I don't want to say at all like using nature, more like a resource or collaboration with nature as part of the therapy process. Yeah.
I'm just imagining people meet. Does that mean you meet outside? Does that mean you like work with nature itself? Does that mean you talk about it? I'm just curious, like what that means for someone seeing you.
Yeah. So it means it can go a few different ways. So with my therapy sessions, sometimes we just bring it in. So for example, even if we're doing an online session, I will just ask, what is it that they really connect with in nature? For example, if someone is feeling really anxious or having panic symptoms, they may want to go to some part of nature that is really grounding and is really calm. So I'll ask them, but usually even people who are fairly like in quotes disconnected from nature, still like everybody has something, even if it's like for some people it's like a whole landscape. They'll be like the hills of Ojai or yeah, like a whole landscape that
Yeah.
speaks to them. And for some people, they're like, oh, it's this tree right out my back door. So whatever it is, large or small, and I just give them a nature prescription. So would you be willing to go out and just put your hand against the tree and just see if you could calm your thoughts and just feel how the sap production of the tree is like its own breath that's very regulated, and for them to tune into that. So
Right.
very simple. It's not like complicated. It's just almost like more simplicity. Yeah. And then I also do groups here in New York, which is super fun. So we've done a few groups in the local parks, and that's really beautiful because it's fun to hear other people's experiences and how they connect. But I usually do some form of what I call, or what is called, nature dialogue. And that's, I'll have them bring a question, an intention, something they want to know, like something they want to even ask somebody else. What do you think of this? But they're going to go bring it to nature. And so they go off for about, usually this is a random number, but I like it, like 11 minutes. That's a cool number. It's kind of magical. So they go out and they find a spot. They're just wherever they're drawn. And then they ask the question, or they set the intention 3 times. And each time they're just listening. So it's a practice of listening, and listening not just with their ears, but what do they see? Like they ask a question, and does any animal come toward them, or do they notice anything? So it's a practice of like deeply listening and observing nature and letting you and nature have a dialogue. And it's really incredible what happens for people in 11 minutes. And the synchronicities. And we did a workshop I co-hosted a workshop up in Vermont, and we did an ecotherapy session. We said 11 minutes, you're going to go out on the land. Here is this beautiful land by Lake Champlain. And this one young woman like went on, it sounded like an Alice in Wonderland journey. And then I was crawling under the tall grasses, and I came up and I saw this, and I realized this about myself. It was like a portal, because when you step out of, so I don't let people bring their cell phones or anything. So that's in a basket. So it's an experience of stepping out of time and space, because I'm holding that container for them. That's really safe to like deep dive with nature. And nature wants to connect with us so badly and responsive. So that's what I do. So I do community groups, and then I do it as part of my therapy sessions, if people want that, if they're open to it. And then I have about a quarter of my practice is climate aware therapy. So I do have people come to me specifically for climate distress, anxiety.
Often referred to as a climate anxiety.
Yeah. The term people use is like eco-anxiety, and we don't have to be like so PC, but people want to step away from that in the sort of therapy world because it implies like your anxiety about something that's going to happen. And for so many people, it is already their life experience. So eco distress is more like having a nice like umbrella term for.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Everything's like evolving so quickly in this world. It's like hard to keep up and
totally, but I appreciate learning.
Yeah, no, a lot of people come and say I have eco anxiety. And yeah, it could be anxiety, it could be any anger. I just see it as like the stages of grief, and people come because we think of Kubler-Ross's stages of grief that she wrote up. Like we think of those as for the loss of a person, but it can totally be applied to the loss of our relationship with the earth. So that's what I see with my clients, is they're in some form of grief. And I love to reframe that for them so that they really see that they're feeling what they are because they love the earth. So it's nice for people to reconnect with that and realize, oh, I'm so distressed, not because I don't want to be here or I hate everybody or I hate what's happening, but because I love nature and the earth so much. And I love the people around me and I don't want them to be harmed.
This podcast is supported by North. North's mission is to provide unique and innovative cannabis products to help bring peace, calm, and healthy alternatives to their consumers. All of their products have been meticulously designed and formulated by co-founders Brandon and Mike to ensure that their customers receive nothing but the highest quality. Currently, they offer 3 product lines: Vibes, a THC CBD seltzer, Gummies, THC gummies, and Fusions, a CBD wellness beverage. I'm a huge fan of the THC CBD seltzer. My current favorite flavor, blackberry mango. Use code CARLY15 to get 15% off your order at drinkthenorth.com. That's CARLY15, or hit the link in the show notes. Enjoy drinking the North. This podcast is supported by Parade Underwear. Parade believes that the materials that touch your skin should be as comfortable as possible, wherever life takes you. That's why their styles come in a large range of fabrics, from seamless universal that disappears under clothes to cozy waffles plush comfort that keep you comfy on every occasion. Parade understands that everyone deserves to express themselves however they choose, because we're all unique. And Parade knows that there's no parade without our planet. They strive to make all of their products from reclaimed, recycled, responsible, renewable, or regenerative materials. This is really a win-win-win. I love Parade. I've been wearing them for a while now, and I can't recommend them enough. And of course, we love the mission. Use code consciously.carly for 20% off your first order. That's CONSCIOUSLY.CARLY, consciously.carly. Enjoy your new undies.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Can you say more about nature wants so badly to connect with us and is so responsive?
Yeah, I think that, I guess what I've noticed with especially my ecotherapy sessions outdoors, these groups or at workshops, is like in those 11 minutes that people they've opened their heart very intentionally to nature, like so much will happen for them, like animals coming over, or like a feather that's left, or like all these things that it's like obviously nature is communicating with them. It sees the opening, or in addition, we're seeing things that we don't see because we're so like absorbed in ourselves. So it's both ways, but I just think, and even in my just like personal experience, I feel animals, when you're open to that, like when you're open to them, they're like, they love it. They feel very safe when you're like, hey, I have space for you. I'm aware of you. And I find the same is true, like personally, when I've played around with communicating and channeling with like plants and trees, and some of them like have not wanted to chat, but Some of them, or maybe I'm not connecting, like I don't really know what's happening there, but some of them have been, I felt like this eagerness to respond. And yeah, I think we've been conditioned to see, obviously, nature as inanimate and our extractive use, but to really open up to seeing how alive everything is, and that we're in relationship and we're just often not communicating with nature.
Yeah. What are some of the personal practices you have, or maybe that you suggest to others to stay connected to nature and to not become climate distressed? Because it can be easy to dip into that with disaster after disaster. And even the most hopeful of us, I think it's easy to have those moments, and maybe that's okay. But what are those practices? I imagine going out in nature, but what else is what?
When you say like disaster after disaster, that definitely makes me think of a practice that I have my clients do, which is that they have to balance the amount of time that they spend reading about climate destruction with reading or watching or whatever the positive things that are happening. So if they wake up, because some people with climate distress are activists and people who are in the climate world, or they work in it, so they're like inundated. So if they wake up and let's say they tend to read the New York Times for 20 minutes, and the New York Times is mainly going to give you the disasters. So then they have to spend 2 minutes Googling or on Instagram or whatever with people, organizations, movements that are doing amazing things, and they have to discover them and connect with them. And some of my clients like reach out and talk to different people and get super inspired. So we have a big movement, like a regenerative movement, like people who really want this healing and are doing it. And we just don't hear about each other. Because, the media is really skewed right towards stories. And there isn't a story necessarily with these beautiful processes that are happening. So it's really important to be aware that's what's happening with the media, and not to see the world completely that way. And that's not to be like toxic positivity or to ignore anything. It's just like being realistic that, and also, there's a lot of destruction, but the people doing amazing, like love can be much stronger than fear. So a few people doing something really beautiful or reconstructing something can also have a strength over that. So that's one thing I work on with people, to build hope and resiliency. And by hope, I don't mean optimism. So optimism is you think everything's going to be great. So I'm not trying to say that to any of my clients, but hope is choosing to work for the world that you want, that you dream of, that you believe is possible, to make those choices regardless of the outcome. So that's hope. Hope is doing it anyway, because it's the good thing, the healthy thing, because you care, because that's what you know is true in your heart, even if things in quotes go to shit or whatever. So so I really have them build hope and inspiration, and I just feel like this system, which includes the media, like the patriarchal capitalistic, like in some ways it works off of people feeling helpless and hopeless.
100%.
Broken down, isolated.
Makes money off of it.
Absolutely. That's how it's all like works. So if you allow that to happen, like it's really being mindful of, I'm going to choose to do it differently, and to find the inspiration and to connect with all the good people who are the people doing all this good work. So really knowing that you're also, by acting with hope and resilience, you're also supporting those people and that movement that does tend to the earth.
I imagine, because I think fear and insecurities boil down to power or powerlessness. I imagine that it's a big part of your practice is to empower people to feel like they can make a difference at all, or again, maybe, because I know that's a big part of it in this world is you get to this point of, am I making change? Am I seeing anything? And you might not be. So I imagine a huge part of your practice is showing people their individual actions can matter, their mental health matters, and all of the above.
I love your question. That feels so right on, that authentic power really comes from what I'm like, comes from that hope too. And yeah, and people understanding their authentic power. Because I think a lot of people they're scared of it, and men are now too, because men who are self-aware, like they don't want to have power over, but it's no, but there's power with, and your authentic power is in that collaboration, in that love, and in those choices that you're making to unplug from the dysfunctional system. Like, it's so powerful to step into a healthier way. Yeah. And I feel like it's also power is a really big piece in the healing and therapy world, because there's a lot in the self-help movement. There can be a lot of also people giving their power away, or people who are vulnerable. It's really making sure you have a therapist or a healer who works with you, who's giving you your power, who's not taking any power, and you're not giving it away, that they are supporting you in really being in your power. So shifting out of any kind of codependency on somebody who's helping you, to make sure that you're really like, engaging and listening to what's true for you, finding your voice and your own healing abilities. So I feel like power is a big one in the healing world, as well as like, how do you then use your healthy power to be active and make a difference?
Yeah, that's really lovely. So when you were going through grad school and going back to school to become a therapist, and kind of seeing, I want to do this and I want to marry these passions, but I'm not seeing it, was there a time where you were like, maybe it shouldn't exist, maybe there's a reason it doesn't? Did you doubt this?
I don't think I ever doubted that, because I knew that they should be together. And I know that part of our dysfunctional system is also like compartmentalizing. And I know that's all a lie, and that it's connected. But yeah, absolutely. I felt like, can I bring this into my practice? Definitely. Like, not like, how am I going to be seen, but like, will people take this seriously?
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, that has definitely come up. But also, I've had so many people reach out over the years, people like that just find me through like searching ecotherapy, or other therapists who are in training who are like, oh, I'm so inspired, or thank you for showing me it's possible. And that has fueled me, because I'm like, oh, okay, great. And they're like, how did you do this? And I'm like, I just had to create, like, I didn't have anyone. There isn't anything that I can plug you into other than just trust yourself and create it. I guess I've just gotten so much positive feedback, and people saying, oh, I've thought of that, or that makes sense, or I've wanted that. It feels like it's still niche, but I think it's part of I know it's part of my purpose to be a bit of a bridge person. And even when it's super uncomfortable for me, I've just kind of accepted that that's part of my role on earth, is to be like, hey, this needs to be here. Like, to create something before people are necessarily it's mainstream. So I've just accepted that. And because I grew up in a family where we were just so not mainstream, and that was pretty, at times, like alienating and lonely and uncomfortable, I think I'm just like, I'm used to it. I'm like, I can do this.
You're like, this is old news. This is not new shit.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, I just feel like also it's not about me. And I see that it wants to come through, but it's important for our clients to see that there's therapists who are active and who are willing to speak up on these topics. I think is really important too.
Since you are forging new territory in this world in this way, does that ever feel like a future evolution? Is there ever thoughts of wanting to pass this on in a more, I don't know, formal way or provide training in this? Or
Yeah, first of all, I want to make sure there are other people doing this. There is a kind of world of ecotherapy and climate psychology. So I'm definitely not like the only one, and I didn't come up with it at all. But it is super niche. Yeah, I have an interesting relationship with like certifications and trainings. Like I see
fair enough.
Yeah, I see the importance, but I've had a number of like therapists in training who are like, should I do the certificate? And I'm like, I had a great experience doing mine. I met really cool people. I super respect Linda Buzzle, who does it and is at the forefront of ecotherapy. But do we always need to do certifications to go out in nature or to like, I don't think so.
Right.
Being clear with like, for people can be really clear with what they want to create and then see if a certification is supportive of that, but not feel have to do it. But yeah, in terms of evolution, I am in the process of creating what will be a nonprofit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that's really exciting. And I don't know, maybe through that, there will be some kind of ecotherapy, something like, at least, I don't know if it will be a formal certificate or maybe a
training or a workshop.
Yeah. But definitely like ecotherapy is so much part of it because the topic is around just this, like personal and ecological regeneration. So much of the experience, if people plug in, will be nature-based and direct activism. Yeah, exactly.
Can you say a little bit more about the nonprofit, or is it like?
Sure. It's not out there yet at all, so I won't say too much, but yeah, it's going to be around an ecological regeneration, and regeneration being going beyond sustainability. So sustainability is around, in some ways, like I feel like self-care and sustainability, like they're super awesome, but they're maintaining in a dysfunctional system. And so regeneration is really around like going beyond that to like what brings back life and is life-giving, both for our like hearts and souls and for the earth. So yeah, so just not trying to reinvent the wheel at all, but excited to just connect people, collaborate, and be part of the regenerative movement that is emerging. I feel like it's like there's little lights of people and organizations and farmers all across the country and the world. And so important for us to all connect and build in our strength and being supportive. So my organization will be just to help support that network that's already in existence.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
What an exciting resource to look out for.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you want to share with listeners that you feel like I maybe haven't given you space to do so?
I think you asked such wonderful questions that feels, really, that feels complete and rich. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I am excited to learn more and more about work like this because it's going to have to be in tandem with moving forward with the climate crisis. So it is a thing of hope to see people like you doing this work.
Thank you. And right back at you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So it's so cool to see each of us, because I know you have a passion with being vegan as well and animals. And it's so beautiful if each of us can just plug into what we love and feel passionate about. And we each get to be like a thread in this movement.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Consciously Clueless. If you're enjoying this podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, put it on social media. Don't forget to tag me. If you're on Apple Podcasts or Good Pods, leave a review. Reviews and shares help more people to see the podcast and join in on the fun. If you want to make sure to stay up to date on future episodes, follow me at Consciously Carly on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or Pinterest, and head to consciouslycarly.com to sign up for the newsletter. Ready for more conscious living content? Check out patreon.com/consciouslycarly and join the exclusive community over there. And finally, if you're ready to take better care of yourself and the world, let's work together. Click the link in the show notes to head to the website, find out more, and schedule a free discovery call with me. Chat soon. This podcast is sponsored by TerraSeed. TerraSeed is on a mission to disrupt the vitamin industry, empower vegans, and reduce plastic waste in the world. They put everything plant-based people struggle to get in an all-inclusive, vegan, compostable package multivitamin that replenishes them and our planet every single day. Seriously, y'all, win, win, win. Even if you're not vegan, this vitamin will help you get those key nutrients that you need. I am so excited to share a discount code for your first purchase. Use code CARLY50 at checkout to get 50% off. Again, that's CARLY50 for 50% off your first purchase at terraseed.com. Don't forget this code so they know I sent you.